things continue to get juicier and juicier with the Minnesota Vikings and Aaron Rodgers. It's the never-ending story, and it will continue to be the never-ending story as long as the Vikings continue to run with the story. The Vikings could have ended this story 3 weeks ago. They could have ended the story yesterday. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah takes to the podium for the first time in a long time to answer questions from all of the Vikings insiders. Kevin Seifert tweets this: Kwesi Adofo-Mensah on Aaron Rodgers. Right now, we're happy with our quarterback room. What does that even mean? Right now, we're happy with our quarterback room. What he could have said is, we have no interest in Aaron Rodgers. It was a thing for a week. We've moved past it, and we are not going to look back at it anymore. Didn't say that. Alec Lewis asked Kwesi Adofo-Mensah if he or Kevin O'Connell had direct conversations with Aaron Rodgers. And this is what he said. So you're talking about a player who Kevin has known a long time. When you have a relationship like that, I'm typically the type who is like, hey, who's ever got the best relationship, talk to them. If I'm like the dork Elvis, Kevin is the QB Elvis type of guy. He's got a lot of respect in that community, and he deserves it. Not just for what he brings from a schematic standpoint, but for how he cares about players and people. A lot of times the environments around quarterbacks are not supportive to quarterbacks, and so for that reason, he's got a great relationship with a lot of these guys. He's got a great relationship with Aaron. They've had a lot of conversations. He looped us in. We kind of met and went from there. It's a new thing to talk about a player of that caliber. I'm always somebody who wants to learn and grow myself. So being involved in those dialogues was really special. So this idea thrown out by the Vikings fan base, of all people, that the Vikings were never interested or discussed Aaron Rodgers to the squad, was never true. Kwesi says right here, they've had a lot of conversations. What are you talking about? What are Rodgers and O'Connell talking about if they've had a lot of conversations? He looped us in. What are you talking about? There has to be some sort of method in place or plan in place, because the Vikings could have killed this 3 weeks ago. And we all like to make fun of Aaron Rodgers because he does bring on some criticism himself for decisions he makes. Darkness retreats, things like that. His COVID stances don't bother me. I actually agree with some of them. But as far as Aaron Rodgers is concerned, the best decision for Rodgers is to play this out and wait as long as possible to make a decision. Why would he decide to sign with the Steelers right now? Still March. If you're going to sign with the team, skip OTAs, skip this mandatory BS and sign with the team early July. It's the best way to do it if you're a 42-year-old quarterback. And it appears that Aaron Rodgers, at this point in time, is Vikings or bust. He met with the Steelers for hours at the facility, but did not walk away with a deal. He has a relationship with Kevin O'Connell. And here's my conspiracy hat throwing on here. And I don't know if it's as much as a conspiracy as it is just truth, but I'll call it a conspiracy because it sounds more interesting. And because I'm not technically a Vikings insider, but I do like to think that I think like an insider. Aaron Rodgers and the Minnesota Vikings are waiting for how J.J. McCarthy looks this spring and into the summer. If McCarthy looks the part and remains healthy, Aaron Rodgers will not sign with the Vikings. However, if there is concern over McCarthy's ability to step in seamlessly with the Vikings after missing, almost 300 days of practice, of physical reps, then you could probably expect that the Vikings would be in play for Aaron Rodgers. I thought Kevin Seifert did it justice on X. He says, fact, Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings has never been likely. Fact, it was discussed both with Rodgers and internally. Fact, it hasn't been ruled out. Fact, J.J. McCarthy is the likeliest QB1. To sum up what the Vikings general manager said at the podium yesterday is basically that. The Vikings have had internal discussions about bringing Aaron Rodgers in, and they still have not killed it. They asked Quessy, hey, is this thing done? Well, you can't say 100% on anything. That's not my job. What? You certainly can. And because he didn't, the play is to see how McCarthy looks. And the play for Rodgers is to wait on the Vikings to see how McCarthy looks. Because the last thing the Vikings want to do is have a Super Bowl roster, offensively and defensively, is shell out millions and millions and millions of dollars to offensive and defensive linemen. And then the one position holding you back is your first-year starting quarterback because he's not physically ready to play after missing an entire year of practice. So that's why this thing is still happening. That's why the Vikings have not killed the Aaron Rodgers story. Now, the likelihood is that McCarthy does look the part and he looks solid and he looks like he's going to be a good fit on the Vikings next season. That's what the Vikings are expecting. But they are holding out a sliver of opportunity for Aaron Rodgers in case McCarthy does not look like they expect him to look. And that's really why Rodgers to the Vikings has been any possibility whatsoever, and also why McCarthy admitted that the Vikings have not named him QB1 yet. And why should they? He's an unproven quarterback that's missed almost a year of physical football reps. And McCarthy understands that. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He says, I want to earn it. I don't want anything handed to me. So he handled that perfectly. The answer was incredible. He could have played the whole bitter route, but he's not going to do that. McCarthy's a smart leader and a smart guy, and he knows how to answer those questions. And he knows how to respond to the Vikings not naming him QB1 yet. He's got to prove it. He missed almost a year of practice. and hasn't played a regular season NFL football game. So, to summarize everything that's happening, the Vikings are waiting on McCarthy to prove that he is the guy and to prove that he is ready physically and mentally to step in. If he is, Rodgers is a non-story. If he is, Rodgers is not coming to the Vikings. On the other side of it, if McCarthy does not look the part and is struggling consistently in practice, well, then Rodgers to the Vikings is in play. Also, if McCarthy goes down with an injury, Rodgers is in play, as he should be. But I should clarify some comments, because I said it, but I want to make sure you really hear it. If McCarthy struggles consistently, okay? We're not talking about one bad day of practice and then the Vikings are going to pick up the phone and call Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about a week or two of consistent struggles from McCarthy. That's the only way Aaron Rodgers is a Minnesota Viking. If McCarthy struggles for a week or two consistently, okay? They're not going to pick up the phone after one bad day of practice and say, Rodgers, we need you. McCarthy's not looking the part. They'll give him time to adapt and find his rhythm again. He's got to be rusty. When's the last time he dropped back to throw and threw a football? With offensive linemen and defensive linemen and reading and defense and all that stuff. So the Vikings will give McCarthy time, and we should not overreact to one bad day of practice. But if you start to get 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8 bad days of practice in a row, well, then Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings will be a realistic possibility. And if you're Aaron Rodgers, that's what you're waiting for. That's why you haven't signed with the Steelers, because you're waiting for something to go down with J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings organization. So that's really what's going on. And that's why the Vikings haven't killed the story. They're waiting to see how McCarthy looks in the spring. So I think that makes sense. Anyways, thank you for making this podcast part of your day. I appreciate it. Hit that subscribe and follow button wherever you are watching and listening. Tell your friends, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. If not, later today. We'll see what happens. Thank you for making this podcast a part of your day and for going on this podcasting journey with me.